Okay, good afternoon everybody, and we'll just make a start. Welcome to this session where we'll talk about the tools to make travel accessible for disabled people, including hearing about national cards such as the Thistle Assistance Programme and the National Entitlement Card. Hi everybody, my name is Emma Scott. I'm the Operations Manager here at Disability Equality Scotland. I'm joined by my colleagues today, James, Fiach and Ali, who will be helping to facilitate today's session. Can I just check before we get started, you can all hear me okay? Give me a little wave or a thumbs up. Great stuff. Okay, let me just briefly explain how today's session will run and how you can interact with us. So today we're in a meeting format, and what that means is that you have the choice to have your camera on or off, as well as your microphone. But could I ask that everyone keeps themselves on mute unless you're invited to speak? This will help us cut down on any background noise and any distractions. Now you can choose to have your camera on or off, but again, can I ask that if you're speaking, please do have your camera on, as this helps us in terms of inclusive communication. Also, if we have any BSL users with us today, it helps if they can see the speaker. Also though, when we move into our small discussion groups later on, it really is useful if you have your camera on, so it's easier to interact as part of the discussion. What would also help today is that the name on display on your screen is the name that you registered under and one that we can use to identify you with. Now, as I mentioned, you can see we've got BSL interpreters with us today. If you do need BSL and you haven't told us in advance, then please let us know in the chat and we can make sure that we connect you with the interpreter. But we also have live captioning provided today. If you would like to see the captions on screen, these can be accessed via the closed captions button at the bottom of the screen, where you can click show subtitle. And if you click on subtitle settings, you can change the size of the captions that appear on your screen. But what we'll do is we'll stick a link into the chat for ease. For anybody today using a screen reader, you can also change the alerts that are read out to you, including any new messages that appear in the chat box, as we know that these can be quite distracting. So these are in settings and then under accessibility. But any problems at all, any technical issues, please just type the issue you're having into the chat box and we'll do the best we can to support you today. Now we're recording today's webinar as usual so that we can share the link afterwards. If you don't want to be recorded, then please do keep your camera off. But we've also got a short evaluation survey for attendees to complete after today's session that will hopefully help us improve the experience for future webinars. Okay, so just to set then today in context, Disability Equality Scotland have been working with Transport Scotland for some time now to deliver on outcomes in the Accessible Travel Framework, which you'll know is the government's 10-year plan to improve public transport for disabled people. Now, a key consideration has always been how we can assist disabled people to make independent journeys. And there are various ways that that can happen, using tools like assistance cards or other methods like passenger assistance. So today we'll have short presentations from Thistle Assistance and also the National Entitlement Card, and then we'll have the opportunity for some questions and discussion. Before that though, I'm going to hand over briefly to Karen Armstrong from Transport Scotland, who will give a very brief introduction to today. So Karen, over to you.
Hi, thanks Emma for the introductions and kicking today off. As Emma says, I'm Karen Armstrong and I head up the Accessible Travel team in Transport Scotland, and we are part of the Accessibility and Bus Screening Unit, which also includes responsibility for Blue Badge policy and sponsorship of the Mobility and Access Committee for Scotland. As you're all aware, today's webinar is going to focus on assistance cards, and you will be hearing in detail about both the Thistle Assistance Programme and the National Entitlement Card, as well as touching on others. I just wanted to give you a bit of background on why we're having this webinar. As Emma says, our team has responsibility for the Accessible Travel Framework, which was published in 2016. It was co-produced by a wide range of organisations and individuals, including those with disabilities and organisations that represent them. It contains one vision, that all disabled people can travel with the same freedom, choice and dignity as other citizens, and it consists of 48 issues and 4 outcomes. Since 2019, and in order to try and deliver faster, with the latest, we've moved to annual delivery plans, with the latest one being published in July this year. Around this time last year, my team undertook an extensive engagement programme with disabled people and organisations that represented them to try and hear firsthand what mattered to them, especially in a COVID-19 world. Although the framework was important and was our guiding document, we wanted to listen with fresh ears to the issues people were experiencing. An outcome of this engagement was a set of priorities, and assistance cards, as always, together with staff training, was brought up in just about every discussion. As part of our role, we want to raise awareness of assistance cards, particularly but not exclusively the Thistle Assistance Card, for both passengers and operators, particularly frontline staff. But what we've heard and what the pre-webinar survey demonstrated, there's still much to do. So today, in terms of you that use the cards or don't due to lack of awareness, we really want to understand your experiences, good and bad. We often just hear about what doesn't work, but it's equally important to hear what works well. For operators, I think it's more about, does the training you receive raise your awareness of the extensive range of cards, lanyards and other assistance tools that are being used on a daily basis to help support passengers undertake their journeys? What are your experiences? Again, good and bad. So that is really just a bit of background on why this webinar today. There will be a bit of talking at you at the beginning, but once we move into the breakout rooms, we really want to hear your experiences and your ideas. So please get fully involved and enjoy the session. Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. As Karen says, we'll have the opportunity soon to move into some breakout groups. But first of all, we've got two short presentations for you. The first is from Keith Fisken from Cestrans, and then we'll hear from Steven Dickson on the National Entitlement Card. So Keith, can I pass over to you to share your screen, please?
You certainly can. Thank you, Emma and Karen, and good afternoon, everyone. So here we go. This is the moment of truth, as always. And hopefully that is working. Here we go. Can everyone see me okay? Nice. So yes, I'm taking this opportunity to update you on all things Thistle Assistance, show you some of the things that we have been doing and some of the exciting new developments that are taking place with the programme. So just a reminder, we are part of the Scottish Government's Accessible Travel Framework, which is an absolute key component of our work with Thistle Assistance, having that support and leverage from Karen and her team and Emma and the team at Disability Equality Scotland as well. It's extremely important to helping raise awareness of the programme. So again, that's a key function of what we're trying to do. Of course, plenty of work to do with that. As we know, we do have a fairly limited marketing budget, but every penny we do get into the programme, we like to think does make a difference. It's certainly an ongoing key objective to work more closely with transport operating companies and partners. So, as in where we can, happy to engage. And please, if anyone doesn't have my email or doesn't know who I am, and I can pass on those details, or more happily, I'll put my email in the chat later on. We did do some work post the pandemic last year as it kind of broke. Where one of the examples that I think is a real plus for the programme is how adaptable we are. We can change and move very quickly. So we created an exemption for face mask wearing, and that was promoted quite widely across Scotland with a great uptake and response to that. So that was, I guess, a nice plus for the programme and how it can deliver for users. We also have now, as a result of that, and because of the pandemic, a much easier way for people to access cards and order cards, which is all done through the website and gets sent out directly as those requests come in. However, we don't stop working. One of the things that we have been working on for a while and is a key part of the accessible travel framework is, and again, feedback from people that use public transport in and around Scotland, is journey planning and wayfinding. We know it's a challenge. It's a challenge for everyone, but especially those that do have a mobility issue. And it's going to be more important post the pandemic as we try to encourage everyone to use public transport more, but especially those that are maybe a more reluctant or hesitant to use public transport. Those challenges will only be exacerbated or made more difficult by the pandemic. So we took all this on board. We got some funding from Scottish Enterprise a few years ago to develop some proof of concept work around journey planning and wayfinding for those with disability or mobility challenges. And we developed some proof of concepts. So we kind of had an idea that it could work. And luckily, earlier this year, we got some more funding from Scottish Enterprise to take that work forward. So I would like to introduce you to Thistle Assistance Voyager and our partners, Centurial, who are the developers that are working with us on this. So what is Voyager? Well, the project has, I guess, 3 key objectives: to focus on improving disability awareness around people using public transport. It needs to adapt to different disabilities, has an ability to scale up, so to cover as much travel modes and geography as possible, and also helped with the general marketing and awareness of Thistle Assistance. Obviously, journey planning and wayfinding are key to this, so I'll explain a bit more how we're going to approach that with the project. So I'll get a whole bunch of things up on the screen there for you. So the Voyager platform, if you like, which is what we're developing, doesn't it's not a new approach to journey planning or wayfinding as such, because as you'll see at the bottom, what we're doing is taking a fairly clever or efficient approach to this, that we're using aggregators that are already out there doing journey planning and wayfinding, everyone from Google to Travelline, and also other crowdsourcing elements like TripAdvisor, obviously the smart transport elements, the areas of work that transport providers themselves are doing into journey planning, live information, etc. And we're taking advantage of all of that, so and then producing outputs. So the platform is the big purple bit in the middle. So I like to call it the jam in the sandwich, if you like, the tasty, nice stuff. And then the 2 bits of bread are the outputs and the inputs. So we're taking, as the name would suggest, Voyager, AR, is an augmented reality platform and also an artificial intelligence-based platform. So we'll have an ability, as you can kind of see in the top, or you have some for where an ability to have identifiers, live waypointing, image notifications or sound notifications built into the app, directly communicating with drivers and staff on trains, buses, etc., and also adapting for handheld devices. The important bit as well is that we'll be directly engaging with ticket selling platforms like Omni or Trainline and Travel Fusion, and the commission that we get back from those aggregators, we will be investing back into the app and the program. Let's see if I can move on from here. There we go. At the moment, and this is all just a very quick run through, we're developing the technical testing side of things. So developing the platform and testing the interfaces, the app and the web-based approach to this. We're very soon going to move into limited user testing, probably towards the end of this year. And then we'll broaden that out across the region, the southeast of Scotland initially, and then finally towards the sort of May, June part of next year, we'll look to do some national testing, and in July, August next year, I would estimate we'll have the platform being released across the whole of Scotland. So we're well on track for doing this. We're looking for volunteers and interest for people to kind of get involved in the testing, both from a user point of view and a technical point of view. So if anybody is interested in being part of that as we move through the testing phase, then please get in touch with myself, and I'll happily include you in the testing program. So to summarize, and I guess I didn't really introduce you too much to the guys at Centurial, the developers. Both of the directors of Centurial have children with a disability, so they're very much emotionally engaged and aware of through personal experiences of the challenges that people do face. They are invested in this, of course, but of course it's not just about that. They're also extremely good at what they do. So the program is designed to take all of the information that exists out in the world through some clever use of technology, provide what we like to call, or we're terming, a travel bubble around the user and the passenger, so that improving the experience, making them feel safer, making them feel more able to use public transport more easily. And it's importantly focused on the door-to-door journey, and able to improve that journey and also adapt very, very easily and quickly to the needs of the user. And there's the summary there. Thank you. And questions. I was rushing through all of that because I'm terrible for Emma gives me 10 minutes and I take 20. So hopefully that was fairly close.
Thank you, Keith. That's great. I think what we'll do is we'll move on and hear from Steven, if that's okay, on the National Entitlement Card. And if there's any questions, pop them in the chat. If we've got time, we'll come to them now, or else there'll be time at the end of the session to come to questions. So, Steve, I hand over to you. Is that all right?
Yep, that's fine, Em. I'm just... Can you see me now? That's me.
That's you. Thanks.
Can you see the presentation?
We can see your screen. You might want to put it into the slideshow mode so that we can see it in a bit more detail.
Does that make it larger?
No, I think it's disappeared completely.
That do, Emma?
That's it. If you just want to do your slides, then we'll... That should be you.
I don't know if I've made that better or worse. It worked without a hitch yesterday, so apologies.
Start talking us through it, Stephen. We can.
So this is really an introduction to Transport Scotland and how we deliver concessionary travel and the smart card technology that we use to do that. So our mission statement includes within it the aim to make travel as accessible and affordable as possible. To achieve this, we offer concessionary travel for young Scots, disabled travellers, over 60s and ferry passengers as well. So how is this being delivered? We deliver free or discounted travel using the National Entitlement Card platform, and there are currently 3 means of providing concessionary travel. Firstly, we have the Scottish National Entitlement Card branded as Saltire cards. So that's the cards that over 60s and disabled passengers will have at present. We also have Ferry Travel Vouchers, and those are available for eligible island residents. And those eligible residents are those with an older and disabled card or young people within the age range 16 to 18. And the third means that we use is the Young Scot National Entitlement Card. And that card currently is issued to people aged up to 25, but the travel concession applies to those aged up to age 18 inclusive, if for the general young person scheme, and there's a small group of volunteers who get that travel concession up until their 25th birthday, which currently is 1/3 of the adult single fare for young people. All of our cards and vouchers are issued free of charge. So a little bit about the National Entitlement Card platform itself. The platform was launched back in 2006. It provides access to concessionary travel for disabled people and those aged 60 plus. There are no day or time restrictions on national bus travel. There are some local travel service restrictions. For example, in the SPT area, the over 60 pass will give a discount on rail fares in the area, but that's not available for use. I think the current hours are between 4 and 6 p.m. in the evening, for example. You cannot use that for the local concession. The National Entitlement Card, depending on what local authority area you live in, also provides access to local concessions. So that may be reduced access prices at leisure centres. It might be there are arrangements with local businesses like garden centres where the National Entitlement Card, if you have it, will give you a discount at those businesses. Currently, around 1/3 of people in Scotland qualify for free travel using the National Entitlement Card. And I should say that it's very much a service that's delivered in partnership. So Transport Scotland administers the travel concession part of the National Entitlement Card, but overall the National Entitlement Card Programme Office in Dundee is a shared resource that delivers the service on behalf of the 32 local authorities in Scotland. So it's a common platform right across Scotland. Now, I'll say a little bit just about ferry vouchers. These are provided to eligible National Entitlement Card holders living in the Western Isles, Orkney and Shetland. So that's young people aged 16 to 18 and also over 60s, and disabled people are entitled to these ferry vouchers. They provide 2 concessionary return ferry journeys to the mainland annually. So in effect, it's four vouchers, which will give you 2 concessionary return trips. At present, this is a paper-based system with vouchers posted out annually to qualifying individuals each year. However, in future, we do plan to move the ferry voucher process onto the actual smart cards, and that will be dependent on the ferry companies having suitable ticketing equipment in place to be able to read and scan the cards, just the way bus operators do at present. The current Young Scot National Entitlement Card is issued free of charge to all people aged 11 to 25. Typically, it might be issued when youngsters are moving from primary into secondary school, and they can then renew it as their appearance or age changes. They can apply for a fresh card with a new photograph. It's issued to anybody who's ordinarily resident in Scotland, and it can provide proof of age and other benefits. So for people wanting to prove they're over 18, there's a pass logo on the card. Young Scot ensures that local authorities are only issuing cards that have got the pass hologram mark on them to qualifying individuals, and those individuals can use that to prove their age, whether it's in a shop or a nightclub or licensed premises. And Young Scot audit the local authorities to make sure that cards aren't being issued with those holograms on them if it's not appropriate for them to be issued with them. Currently, the Young Scot National Entitlement Card in terms of travel will give a 33% discount on an adult single bus fare, likewise for an adult single rail fare. But for rail season tickets, it will give a 50% discount on a rail season ticket. So in terms of rail usage, quite a lot of young people use it for the season ticket element as opposed to just the 33% off the adult single fare. Moving on, you may be aware that there's a new young person's free bus travel scheme that's due to start shortly. The aim of this new scheme is really to embed more sustainable travel behaviours from a young age and to help meet our target, Scotland's target of net zero emissions by 2045. So this new scheme commences the 31st of January 2022. Really, it's quite a big departure from our current scheme. This new scheme will provide free bus travel for ages 5 to 21 inclusive. Like the older and disabled person scheme, there's no day or time national travel restrictions. The only services being excluded would be premium nighttime services or tour services. Those sorts of services are not covered, but all other local bus services are included in scope for this. The young person will have a choice to either opt for a Young Scot branded card with the pass hologram if appropriate, or they can choose a plain card, a plain solitaire NEC card branded simply with the local authorities logo on it. And something that we're doing in a new departure to save issuing out absolutely everybody who has an existing Young Scot card with a new card, where we can, if the existing card can be updated with the new travel entitlement, we're bringing out a Transport Scotland Smart Card app, which if the young person downloads that to their phone or tablet, they will simply have to hold their existing Young Scot card against it. Our systems will recognise whether that card is due to have the travel entitlement product loaded onto it. If the card is due to have the travel entitlement product loaded onto it, then the young person simply taps a button on the app and the free transport entitlement will be downloaded to the card. I should just say that that's for young people aged 16 plus, where they can happily go ahead and download the free travel entitlement. For young people under 16, slightly different process. All free travel entitlement must be authorised by the young person's parent, so they'll be able to do that through different channels, whether that's on the Get My NEC platform or through the local authority's own local system. So this new card, the expected uptake is 930,000 people. So you can see that's really quite a sizable chunk of new additional customers to the National Entitlement Concessionary Travel platform. I'll say just a little bit about the card formats and the different logos. All older and disabled people cards have the orange C logo on them. If there's an entitlement to companion travel, then there'll be a +1 symbol added on to the card. Likewise for the visual disabled card, you can see the first one has the visual disabled symbol, the second one has an entitlement to a companion, so there's that small +1 symbol just would be printed as well on the card. Where there's a C with a green L in the middle of it, that's indicating local concession entitlement, whether it's local authority, leisure services or discounts arranged with commercial businesses. Again, if there's a companion entitlement on the card, +1 symbol will be there. And for all 13 local authorities in the Strathclyde Partnership for Transport area, all national entitlement cards issued to people in that area will have the orange subway symbol printed on them. And again, there are discounted subway travel rates for people holding those passes. I spoke a little bit earlier about the young people's cards. We can see here the 3 flavours of them. The first card, which is for age 5 to 11, you'll notice there's no photograph on it because children change appearance so much and it's not really thought appropriate to include photographs on under 12 cards. So that's the format of those cards. Here we have one where the young person's chosen just the plain solitaire card. And the third one right on my right, the young person's gone for probably what's much more the standard choice. They've chosen the Young Scot option, and we can see that this one's got the pass hologram symbol on it as well to indicate over 18. So just to conclude now, soon Scotland will have the most up-to-date and secure smart cards delivering concessionary travel to potentially 50% of the Scottish public. That's really moving from the base of roughly 1/3 of people covered by the existing concessionary travel schemes to, with the new young person scheme, it's moving us up to about 50% of the Scottish public. And I'll conclude there just now, and if there's any questions, then I'm happy to take them, depending on timings. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. If you can stop sharing your screen, that would be helpful. I think thanks to both Keith and Stephen for those presentations. I think interesting developments with both cards. Now, I've noted there's some questions coming through in the chat, but I want to try and maximise the amount of time that we have in our discussion groups, and we'll come back to the questions at the end, or at least give the presenters the chance to come back to you at a later date. So what's going to happen now is that we will break out into our small discussion groups to give you guys the chance to have your say. Now, each group will have a facilitator that has some key questions we'd like to cover today. We've got about 35-40 minutes set aside for discussion. So in just a minute, you'll be prompted to move into your breakout groups. You may well have to press a button to say that will happen, except for group 1, who will stay in the main room. So in just a few minutes, you'll be prompted into your discussion groups, and we'll see you back here in just after half an hour. Hi everybody, welcome back. I hope that was okay to have a quick break there. What I'm conscious of time, what I want to do is maybe just open up the floor first of all to questions, and then any feedback that we had from our discussion groups we will collate and put into the summary report that we send out, because I'm really keen to try and hear from people and their thoughts on having one travel assistance card covering maybe all modes of transport and across the country. If anybody's got any particular comments on that, I'd be really keen to hear from you now, or else stick some questions in the chat or raise your hand. Ellie, you've got your hand up. Do you want to come in on that?
Yeah. Oh, can everybody hear me? Yeah.
Go for it, Ellie.
Right, no problem. It's a question to the gentleman about the gave the presentation about the National Entitlement Card, and it's a question regarding a personal experience. Basically, ages ago, I went to a amusement arcade in Kilmarnock in East Ayrshire, and I presented my Young Scot National Entitlement Card as a proof of age document to the woman in question to use as proof of age, and the woman wouldn't accept it as proof of age, and she told me that Young Scot cards can be forged. Is this true or false? Because the woman in question wasn't happy about me using my Young Scot card as proof of age. As I've said previously, I'm partially sighted, so I don't hold a driver's licence. Young Scot cards can be forged. I don't agree with that. I think that's a load of crap. Can Young Scot cards be forged?
Stephen,
I would start off by saying I'm not aware that there's any widespread or any real problem with forged Young Scot cards that I've heard about. The past logo is a hologram type logo deliberately to make it a difficult sort of thing to forge or replicate. On the other hand, there is an issue that businesses can decide for themselves what they will accept as proof of age. So I know that certainly some businesses, licensed premises, will say they will not accept a Young Scot card for service of alcohol. They'll insist on another proof, typically passport or driving licence. So that is something that I have heard before. Why is it at the discretion of the business owner?
Right, well, that's right enough, because I did make a complaint to East Ayrshire Licensing, telling them what I've just told you, and they basically said the same thing. But in regards to proof of age, I think that it should be used as, it should be allowed to be used as proof of age. And as I said, I don't hold a driver's licence, and I'm not comfortable with carrying my passport in my bag all the time in order to use it as proof of age. So something should be done in order to say to businesses, look, this has to be used as proof of age. If you're not happy with it, then dodge you, basically.
Thanks, Bella.
Businesses should have a choice to say yes or no.
Karen, did you have your hand up in response to that, or did you want to come in?
No, it wasn't in response to that. I think it was maybe on the same lines of Stephen, that there's no evidence that we have gathered or that Young Scot have gathered that there's any misuse of the card. I was just really going to come in just in terms of answering your question and trying to cover off what our group thought. So I think our group was a small but perfectly formed group with a wide representation, including representation from the islands. And I think that we were in agreement that one single card should be the way forward. But we also needed to be fully aware that in different modes, this may well require different steps to make that happen. For example, rail is regulated by the Office for Rail and Road, so there may be some engagement required with them. It was also mentioned that if we did move to one single card, and I know that we've been moving in that direction, but if we're really wanting to take it seriously, because there is a flood of cards out there now and the pandemic has added to that, that there should be an extensive engagement programme, and it shouldn't be for someone like me to be making the decisions. It should be people that are using the cards and the operators. And I think one of the only other things that was raised in our group was awareness, that I think there's still work to do on awareness of the Thistle Assistance Card. So for example, quite a lot of people on the islands who do travel to the mainland are not really fully aware or fully informed that there's tools that they can use. So it was maybe just to come in on that point about the one card. So we had, I'm sure I'm representing the voice of the group, we thought it was the way to go.
Thank you, Karen, that's helpful. And depending on the number of questions, I might come to some of the facilitators to find out more about those other discussions. But I can see that Catherine and Mary have their hands up. So Catherine, I'll come to you first if that's okay. Did you have a question?
Oh, hi. Yeah, it was just when you were talking about it being available nationally. I think when we're talking about nationally, are you talking about Scotland-wide or UK-wide? Because I had an issue last week when I had to go down to London for a medical appointment, and I had booked assistance at the other end and it never came, so I was just left sitting on the train, you know, till I managed to see a buggy going by to drop somebody else off. But you know, it was about 3/4 of an hour after we arrived, you know, but there was no way for me to easily communicate that I was stuck there, you know. So I think it would be good if there was you know, I mean, I ended up getting a taxi. I didn't use the tube and the railway at the other end, but it would be good, or the bus even, but it would be good if there was something that we could also show from here in Scotland if we had to go down south for whatever reason. And I think it would also be good if there was a way of being able to show your individual needs, whether that be maybe you're deaf or you're blind, or like I was mentioning how people with Crohn's disease can, you know, if they've got toilet needs, you know, that if there was, because you don't want to announce that to the whole bus or the whole train, if there was a way of being able to physically show that to whoever is that you're asking for assistance from, that would be an awful lot better.
Thank you, Kath. And I think that's been a really important point that's come up in a number of groups about hidden disabilities and being questioned as to why you perhaps have an assistance card and not necessarily wanting to identify. Mary, do you want to come in at that point?
Yes, it was another question actually for Steven. When I applied for the Thistle card, I did so on the basis that I'm 62 years of age, not on the basis of disability. So would that be something, you know, that would also need to be considered? You know, is this just concessionary travel? Or as Catherine there said as well, you know, that we have some way of identifying some of our needs as disabled travellers, and that could be something like a form that we would fill in, that we would assess ourselves and our needs and give that over. And then that could then be translated into codes that could be put onto a card. And obviously we would then, the responsibility would lie with us as the disabled person to then update that as our disabilities changed.
I don't know how we would do that operationally. The key thing for us is that it's a national scheme in terms of you can use the card anywhere in Scotland, but it's the SPT or the local authority who issues the card. So when they issue the card, if it's over 60, it's just issued as an over 60. If it's disabled, then they will note on the system it's a disabled card holder, and there may be different classifications that they fill in for that. The card's then printed, it's got the orange C or the C+ symbol to give a quick visual as to whether it's just you or a companion that can be present for free travel. It's got the local authority logo on it. I personally am not sure how much space there would be in that card to put any other symbol. If some sort of a code was being input to the card to say that the holder had a certain kind of disability, then I don't know what data protection implications there might be if some people might not want to self-declare anything to be encoded into the card. And then you'd have all the bus ticket machines throughout Scotland would have to be able to read whatever code was input to the card to display a message to the driver. And I'm just not sure how technically or operationally feasible that would be, to be honest.
Okay. Should I then speak to the local authority to actually have my disability recognised because I just have the card because I'm old?
If you've got a disability and the cards provide the same travel benefits, so you're getting the same travel benefits aside from if you think that you need a companion. If the nature of your disability is such that it would qualify you for a companion to accompany you in a journey, then I would say go down that route. But otherwise, practically the travel entitlement's the same, holding an over 60 and a disabled card. It's only if you've got the companion element, you need that companion element, that I would say you would need to apply for a fresh card.
All right, okay, thank you.
We've got a couple of minutes left, just a few minutes. Claire, can you ask your question quickly?
It's not really a question, it's bringing something to people's attention. If you want to buy complicated rail tickets like you know, wheelchair spaces and things, and you don't want to have to deal with that on the phone for whatever reason, you can go down and do that at the station. However, it's not possible to book any form of assistance at a station unless you intend to travel, because the person who has to assist you is the operator on whom you are travelling. So I can't get rail access because of some silly aspect of things that I can't say I've arrived at the station, I want to come into the ticket office and then leave. Can we manage to seal up that problem in any way?
Claire, it's Patrick here from ScotRail. You should be able to say when you get to any station on the Scottish network, you should be able to buy your tickets and you should be able to book your assistance at the same station. If that isn't happening, I'll be very, very, very happy for you to tell me which stations aren't doing it, because every staff on the front line is registered to use the passenger assist system, which is the new system called transit report system, and they should be able to book everybody. They were trained on that, they were briefed on it, and we would absolutely want to establish who is there, who hasn't been trained, or who is not confident enough to do so. Please help us. It is part of our ideas of making sure that the customer experience for those who are using passenger assistance is improved and they are not disadvantaged.
Thank you, Patrick. Claire, I'd be happy to put you in touch with Patrick after.
Yeah, because if they can explain how that's done, because if I use the passenger assist app, it insists on I putting details of a train.
I can certainly hook you and Patrick up from ScotRail after today's session. But as usual, everybody, time has run away from us. Thank you to everybody for your time and your contributions today. We will take all of your feedback from the discussion groups and put that together in a short summary report. And we'll also collate all of the questions from today's chat and put them to the panel. So we will come back with some feedback on that as well. So just a reminder, there will be a short feedback survey after today. Please do take a few minutes to give us your thoughts on today's session. And finally, just thank you again to our presenters today, to the support we've had from the communications team, and to our facilitators. Thank you to you and to all of you for giving us your thoughts. But we'll see you again at a webinar soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.